Freezer 4U from Arctic is back, and better than ever. It's the Freezer 4U-M. Level 1 is a big fan of the 4U cooler. We've used it on a lot of stuff. This 4U-M, it's even better. Mostly. Let's take a look. Mostly? What's he talking about? Mostly. Okay, so the Freezer 4U didn't actually fit in every single 4U case. In fact, Level 1 Tech's forums was basically the resource for figuring out if your 4U cooler was actually going to fit in your 4U case when we're talking about the Freezer 4U. The Freezer 4U-M is significantly less tall, a little bit more thick, so that it still has basically the same cooling capacity, very slightly reduced cooling capacity, but it will fit in 4U cases. They've also improved compatibility. It's AMD SP3, that's Rome and Milan, but not the Genoa edition, as well as LGA 4189 and 4677. Does that mean you can rock your 400-ish watt overclockable X series Xeon processor on this with your W790 motherboard? Yes. This cooler was designed with W790 and the big ol' Xeon heatsink in mind. That's Sapphire Rapids, but also things beyond Sapphire Rapids, because that W790 socket is going to be with us for a little while. We still have a multiplicity of copper heat pipes. We still have direct copper heat pipe connection. We still have an asymmetrical sound reducing design with a push-pull fan configuration. It's all the stuff that we came to know and love for the 4U cooler, but in a smaller design. I talked to Arctic about this cooler actually quite a bit, and they were surprised how popular it was. We here at Level 1, Arctic sent us one, but we actually ordered over a dozen of them to use for various projects. It's sort of nuts. The Gamers Nexus project, guess what we used? Well, we used the 4U version, not the 4U-M, but that fit in a 4U case because you just had to be careful about choosing your 4U case. Basically, you had to get motherboards that were really close to the bottom of the case, not the ones that were tall so that you could fit wires underneath them, because the taller motherboard standoffs weren't going to work. Sometimes the way that the case was assembled also meant that the motherboard sat a little higher in the chassis and it would also sort of bang against the top. It was within just a few millimeters typically. There's a lot more margin on this cooler that'll work. We've also used these coolers when we need the correct CPU orientation. You see, if you watched my W790 Why You Gotta Be Weird, W790 CPU socket is available in a horizontal or vertical configuration. It actually denotes if you're running the 4 memory channel or the 8 memory channel configuration. This is kind of similar to what AMD did with Threadripper. Threadripper is the vertical CPU slot, Threadripper Pro is the horizontal CPU socket. And so this is more appropriate for your horizontal CPU configuration. You're gonna rock the 24, 32, 64, 56 core CPU monsters then, and you get the horizontal CPU socket, then this will work out pretty well for you. In terms of cooling capacity, testing this with a 56 core X series monster CPU, the cooling capacity of this cooler is good for about 380 watts to 400 watts, give or take. You can get better cooling out of it if you're willing to force more air down its throat, but running these, slightly modified, somewhat proprietary Freezer 4U DC 12 volt 0.12 amp, these fans don't spin very, very fast. They don't get very loud. These aren't terrible fans, they're actually very good. It is a little weird that the mounting mechanism for the fan is built in. If you're just in a hurry to build something, this is actually pretty great. If you wanted to add your own aftermarket fans, you're going to be 3D printing adapters. There's nothing that comes in the accessories or the accoutrement from Arctic in order to help you replace these with, thicker or higher RPM or higher airflow fans. But the mounting mechanism itself is just notches on the side of the cooler. You can 3D print something. It's fine. I don't think that Arctic really, it's not worth the cost differential to get into fighting with that, because the price point for these is and has been historically extremely aggressive, which means that it doesn't cost a lot. And I like that. I like that a lot. Also, I like the asymmetrical design. It's got the airflow markers, and because it is an asymmetrical design, you get this sort of cutout in the middle here. Arctic tells me that helps with the noise from this. We use these in 2 of our experimental servers. They're running Milan, the older version slightly, in an Antec 300 cases. Antec 300, isn't that from like a decade ago? Yeah, it's a good motherboard with good RAM and a good processor. And then I got the most economical tower cooler that would work for running those things full tilt at 280 watts, because configurable TDP is a thing on even server processors. 64 core Threadripper Pro, yeah, CTDP that all the way, and juice the platform just a little bit. Yeah, you know, overclockable Threadripper wasn't really a thing until the 5000 series Threadripper hits, and then depending on your motherboard BIOS version, you could accidentally overclock the 3000 series Threadrippers. I was a little disappointed that SP5 is not an option for my box configuration here. I have written to Arctic to ask about that, because the timing of their release of this plus SP5, it's like, oh, we need a conversion kit or a secondary model or something like that to go with SP5, but yeah, I don't know. Check out Arctic products. They've also got the P12 Max fans, which are the 120mm maximum RPM, you know, higher air pressure, static flow fans. We've done some other builds with those. We also use that for some world records, that 7900 XTX, the live mixer, plus the 7900 XTX Aqua from ASRock. Those 120mm P12 Max fans, they really pushed us over the top on that build. So good job. Of course, if I wanted to use the P12 Max fans with this, it's going to be 3D printing an adapter. But again, if you're an enthusiast, you're probably going to do that anyway. Not a big deal. I like the sort of bulk awesomeness of this. Anyway, I'm Wendell. This is Level 1. This has been a quick look at the updated freezer for you. M for it'll fit now. I'm Wendell. This is Level 1. I'm signing out, and you can find me in the Level 1 forums.